All right, everyone. Today is the big day. At the stroke of midnight, as October begins, we're probably going to have a government shutdown. The amount of trolling involved with this is pretty funny. Linked in the description. The first one's not archived. This is just a video that Trump posted, and it shows Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Of course, this is AI generated. It's funny. You look down at the responses. Some people are trying to fact check the post, and people are pointing out this is quite clearly parody. Nobody believes that Mexican hat on Hakeem Jeffries is actually real. Just saying. But it's like Schumer rambling about how everyone hates Democrats, and at the end he's like, "That's why." And this is tied into the shutdown thing because one of the parts that the Democrats want to retain, this is one of the things that they want to deal on, is to retain medical subsidies basically for illegal immigrants, among other things. And so people are laughing about that. Even some liberals I have seen, they're like, just get the show on the road and maybe tackle that later or something because, we're going to have a shutdown. They're getting all like freaked out about it. And so the idea is that Schumer's saying, but if we give free health care to all of these illegals, then maybe someday they can vote for us. And they don't speak English, so they don't know that we're just terrible people until they learn English, and then they'll realize that they hate us too. It's extremely funny. That is basically the main Dem sticking point is wanting to continue to give free health care to millions of people that aren't even legally allowed to be in the country. It makes absolutely no sense that you're going to shut down the government over such an issue. It's just another data point in the Democrats not really understanding the modern political dynamic, the modern economic dynamic, certainly not taking the pulse of the population the right way. So they're really bogging themselves in the head with this one. I think that Trump and the GOP generally will come out on top on this issue. Now, what sort of negotiations happen after the shutdown, that remains to be seen. It looks like Schumer, especially now that he's effectively the de facto head of the party for the most part, and in the Senate, he is the head of the Senate Dems. He wields more power than Nancy Pelosi for the first time. So I think that he's sort of exerting dominance because he's been like a lapdog for the last however many decades. Nancy Pelosi sort of leads him around like a little poodle, a little yappy dog. And it's always been very funny and be almost sad when they're gone, when they're no longer in office, because they won't be able to make fun of them anymore. Right, they're getting old enough to just, randomly collapse in the hallway and have to resign at this point. And it's right at the era, the golden age, the dawn of AI generated, troll videos, basically. So, yeah, it'll be rather sad. By the way, it was pointed out that AI is going to go the same way as the internet. You're in the golden age right now. Enjoy it while you still have it. So the shutdown will happen. This will mean the furloughing of many government workers. It'll mean it's funny, by the way. This was something that somebody pointed out with regards to shutdowns. You'll remember the shutdown under Obama, and people were mystified because they were closing down national parks. Considering how few park workers are generally physically there in the parks doing things, they actually have more staff needed to keep people out of the national parks as opposed to, doing anything. It takes more effort to actually police the parks to keep them closed instead of just allowing people to go out in nature and put up a sign. It's like, you go to the pool, it says no lifeguard on duty. Why don't you just say, there are no forest workers here who can save you if you're being chased by a bear, so you enter at your own risk? Cost a lot less now, wouldn't it? Just, make the signs. You can reuse them too. That would be government being efficient and doing something that made sense. So I'm not going to hold my breath for that anytime soon. And it will cause certain logistic problems. But as we've seen in past shutdowns, those caused a lot of problems. It's not an insurmountable sort of thing. A lot of people think government shutdown. Oh my God, there'll be no government. Well, there'll be no police. There'll be no military. We'll be defenseless. It's not exactly the way that it works. Non-essential workers will be furloughed, many rehired afterwards, although Trump may not bother to try to rehire all of them. He may attempt to, circumvent that and say, well, I wanted some of these cuts anyway, so Yeah, we'll use the shutdown time while we're negotiating. We'll have some people go through the job descriptions here of some of these bureaucrats and what do they actually do. There are people that work in corporate offices and in government that probably don't even know what they're supposed to be doing. What's your job description? I don't know. I sat in a cubicle and, looked at a couple pieces of paper. Then I went to the water cooler, spent an hour in the bathroom, and then had lunch, went back to my cubicle and played, my Game Boy or something like that. I got this cool retro Game Boy here. I was playing Pokemon. Uh, this sort of thing happens in government and corporate America. We've had politicians caught tweeting and shit like that when they're supposed to be paying attention to some important speech and stuff like that happens all the time. Government is not efficient. That's why I think we should just shut it down and keep it shut down. If they're non-essential workers, then why employ them at all? What's the point? And also, government's attempt to make shutdowns uh, uh, more hurtful towards the public because they want the public to crack, so they'll demand that something be done. Oh my God, we need those workers back by deliberately targeting places of employ within the government that in some cases actually shouldn't be classed as non-essential. Basically, the government will keep paying itself and they'll still have all of their toys, but they want to put as much pressure on the little people as possible. That's often what a shutdown is. That's what the Democrats are doing right now. It's completely ludicrous. You're going to hold up government services and functions that in some case actually do matter, hold them up simply to give free healthcare to people who shouldn't be getting healthcare in the United States. They shouldn't be covered under healthcare. I mean, if it's somebody who's temporarily here and they've got temporary insurance policies for people who travel and stuff like that. But you're supposed to leave the country at some point. You're not supposed to overstay a visa. You're not supposed to walk across the Rio Grande and scale a fence. You're not supposed to be doing these things. Again, if the first thing that you do when you're entering a country is break the law by being there, that becomes a problem. And I know I don't think that healthcare should be guaranteed in the budget deal. I think that we should cut that out. Same with like housing and stuff like that for people who are, again, illegally in the country. Um, that's just the way that it is. Some people say, well, but that's mean. You're going to harm people's lives. Some of those people have kids and stuff. Absolutely. And so do a lot of American taxpayers who are citizens who are being robbed blind by the government to give money to people who, again, are breaking the law simply by physically being within our geographic span. So we'll probably shut down. You probably won't notice any much of a difference. The government should be so absent in your life that it wouldn't matter if there were a shutdown, basically. That's about all. Peace out.